Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the NFL Draft Triple Take, brought to you by UPMC. I'm Mike Prisuta, joined by Matt Williamson and Dale Lolley. We are continuing to do our best to get you as ready as you can possibly be for the NFL Draft, which is scheduled to take place in late April in Kansas City. Today, we're going to take our second look at the wide receivers position. If you've been following along with us on the Steelers' social media platforms, you know already that the way we do this is we take a look at a position group, then we double back and take another look at that position group. We do that for every position group. We're going to do a handful of mock drafts, everything you could possibly want and or need before the event coming up, as I mentioned, in late April in Kansas City. Dale, let's take a look at your second look at the wide receivers. Further review, if you will. How do you stack the top five here?
Yeah, I think, Mike, when you're looking at this group, it's not the wide receiver groups we've had the last couple of years where there's this guy's really a stud, or there's five studs. But to me, the guy that stands out is this guy, Jackson Smith-Njigba. All I need to know about this guy is 2 years ago when he was on the same team at Ohio State with the guy who won Offensive Rookie of the Year this past season, he was the best receiver on the team. And those two receivers both went high in the first round. I think he's number one in this class. Then you're looking at Quentin Johnston. I think he has something that's a little bit different than most of these other guys. He's 6'4" and about 210, so he's got a little more size than some of these other guys. For that same reason, I have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, number 3. I just love his ability to get behind defenses. That's one thing. Speed is a trait that you can't coach. He's got it. Then you're looking at Jordan Addison, I believe, out of USC, and then finally Zay Flowers. They're kind of similar players. They're both kind of slot guys. I don't know that either one of them can play outside. These other three guys I know can. I know Smith-Njigba was a slot receiver at Ohio State, but he's 6'1", 200 pounds. He can play outside. He's very much like Justin Jefferson to me.
I've got the names that you selected in my top 5 as well, but my grouping is a little different. And, let's just cut right to the chase here. Move Brutus Buckeye over there. The guy I love among all these guys is Jordan Addison. I still remember what he did at Pitt a couple of years ago when he won the Biletnikoff Award. I think he just gets it. I think he can play the wide receiver position. I'm not going to talk about getting in and out of breaks and all that technical stuff. He catches the ball, man, and he catches it in a variety of ways. He's my number 1. I've got Johnson, number 2, Hyatt, number 3. I'll bump Flowers up to 4. I think he's underappreciated. I think BC only scored 20-something touchdowns, 23 or 24 touchdowns, and he had about 11 or 12. He was almost half the Boston College touchdowns. It was not a dynamic offense, but he played very well in it. And I've got your guy Smith-Njigba at number 5, only because I'm not as sure as you are that he is more than a slot, and he also didn't do very much, if at all, this season. But that could just be luck of the hamstring. I'm sure he's going to be well thought of. I just happened to downgrade him a little bit because of all the inactivity. Matt, how did you see it shaping up this time around?
Yeah, I also have Smith-Njigba number 1, and frankly, I'm getting more and more infatuated with him. I mean, the Knox, as you mentioned, played under 50 snaps this year. He might be slow. He hasn't even run. I don't care. I mean, his change of direction, his ability to set up people out of his breaks, he's an elite route runner. I think he's a 100-catch guy at the next level consistently. I think he's that type of player. I also have Johnston at 2, partially because, as Dale mentioned, he's different than all the rest. I mean, he's big. He can get downfield.
Go down the field and throw it to him deep. Right?
Absolutely.
Let's not overcomplicate it.
And the other thing that he brings to the table that is he's really good after the catch. He runs through tackles. A lot of these guys run around tackles. Hyatt, to me, goes to 5, and Addison, for all the reasons you mentioned, is 3. I think his game, actually both these guys are smaller. They're route runners. But in today's NFL, where they spread things out, that translates quickly, and I think he will be an instant impact guy. His tape at Pitt was better than USC. And as you mentioned with Flowers, what I love about him is he was the only show in town in BC, and every defensive coordinator in the world knew it. Didn't matter. And then Hyatt is your classic Teddy Ginn, Will Fuller, fly down the sidelines, scare defenses to death. I think he can be even better than those two that I mentioned. And even if he's not catching balls, you have to have a safety over the top of him. He makes room for the run game. I mean, his speed and his big playability is really impressive.
I was chuckling when you put Addison in the third slot. Dale, you had him 5. I had him 1.
Right.
Matt had him 3. So we're all over the board on Jordan Addison. Much like
I think that's the way this wide receiver class is. I mean,
Yeah.
this draft class.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got a couple other names here. And one of the things we're going to do today is talk a little bit about some players who did not make our top 5, but we still found interesting in the pre-draft evaluation process. Matt, you're closest to the board. And these two guys intrigue you at all, or is there somebody else?
Yeah, Downs wouldn't have been too far out of my top 5. Really productive at North Carolina. Also, kind of as we mentioned with these guys, really good route runner. What he does translates well to today's NFL. Certainly more of a slot. I understand the allure with Dell. He's just so small. I mean, he's a very small player.
But so productive.
But so productive and electric as can be. That's just harder to translate to the league where the hash marks, aren't so wide. There's not as much open space. But someone's going to love him.
Yeah, to me, a guy who's intriguing as well, maybe in the middle rounds, Trey Palmer out of Nebraska, another guy that can fly, another Big Ten guy for you.
Yeah, sure.
Doing your homework.
And
Should watch that more on Saturdays when
yeah,
we're on the road.
well, yeah, it's Big Ten. They don't throw the ball anyways, which is part of the problem with Palmer. He didn't have a ton of catches at Nebraska, but I thought he did well at the Senior Bowl, really lit things up down there, so he's a guy to keep an eye on as well.
A couple guys I wanted to mention just because I find them interesting. Puka Nacua from Brigham Young. He's the only guy in FBS to have 5 touchdowns rushing and 5 touchdowns receiving. They play him like a football player, and he does some jet sweep. He would get a couple carries pretty much every week, and also able to catch the ball and find the end zone with it. And I'm going to mention a guy who I think will go in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round. And whoever takes him in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round is going to be so happy they took Jaden Reed out of Michigan State.
Shocker.
That's right, homer pick.
Had a good Senior Bowl.
A really good Senior Bowl, yeah.
The comp is Connor Hayward. They play different positions and they're different body types, but their competitive nature and how hard they get after it and their football IQ. And in Reed's case, he played his best in the biggest games. He's also a really good return guy. I think he's going to be a late-round steal.
What big games did Michigan State play in?
Well, Michigan, Penn State, Pitt. I thought the Peach Bowl was an incredibly big game. Some people didn't think so, but, to each his own. Again, a lot of guys, what do you need? You need tall possession. You need get down the field. You need jet sweep guy. You need middle of the field guy. You should be able to find it in this receiver class.
It's a little lacking on size, though. I mean, I think that helps Johnston's case. There's not a lot of prototypical 6'2", 6'3", 200
That's what
pounders.
makes the kid from Princeton interesting.
Yeah, sprinter.
He's a bigger guy.
Let's talk about him a little bit. I think that's Andre
That's all you.
Yosivas. I think it's Yosivas. Could be
I
wrong.
think you're doing a good job.
Iosivas, 3-time Ivy League heptathlon champion. You guys know how many events are in the heptathlon?
More than I would care to take part in myself.
Whatever hep means.
Yeah.
7.
7, okay.
And his claim to fame, he ran a 6.71 60-meter dash in 2022, which is the NCAA Indoor Championships record. He's a big kid.
And he's big,
6'4",
right,
he can
yeah.
fly.
He can go up and get it, and he can run.
Yeah. And he's not just a track athlete with pads on.
I assume he's rather smart, too.
Well,
Probably a
you
good
would think.
assumption, yeah.
That's going to do it for this edition. I want to thank everybody once again for finding us, however and wherever you found us. Keep checking those Steelers social media platforms. We are going to be coming at you fast and furious between now and late April and the NFL draft in Kansas City. Until next time, for Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson, I'm Mike Prisuta. This has been the NFL Draft Triple Take, brought to you by UPMC.